This is The Gorge, a podcast where Ben and Sara gorge themselves on overanalyzing a game or game-related topic, and it is Indie Week. The Gorge is brought to you by our Patreon. You can support us at patreon.com/thegorgepodcast. Every donation you make will go straight to keeping the podcast running, supporting our subscriptions to SoundCloud and Libsyn. We have promotion stuff. We will promote whatever product or podcast or project or whatever you're working on at the $5 mark. At the $20 mark, you get a cool The Gorge t-shirt. We are giving you about 2 of those a month. And they will have different, or two of them a year. Yes, 2 of them a year. And they'll both have different designs on them and stuff. Sara will design those because she's good at that stuff.
Hey, cool, thanks.
Wait. Our intro and outro music are both courtesy of Zach235. We'll be linking his work wherever we can because he's great and awesome, and it was super cool to work with him.
Right on. So, and yeah, I love our new intro. Holy shit, I still think about it, and I'm like, oh my god, we have an intro. But yeah, let's hop right to it. So, do we want to start with Night in the Woods?
I think so. So this is Indie Week.
Oh yeah.
Which is the last week of the month. From now on, we will be doing our breakdowns of indie games that we've played, focused most primarily on those. Stuff that isn't by a big studio, stuff that's on Steam or PSN. This week, we're doing 2. We're doing Night in the Woods, and we're doing Her Story.
Right, Night in the Woods is brought to us by, shit, I had it written down.
Crap. I should have written that down.
Damn it, I had that written down, and I forgot my notes. And
let me just look it up real quick.
Nope, I got it. Okay. It's a race. Well, I thought I had it. This is great radio. Infinite Fall,
okay.
Yeah, because I remember their logo is an IF. They have a very dope logo.
Yes.
Brought to us by Infinite Fall. They're pretty fucking rad. It's on PC. Oh, Jesus. It's on Windows. Also on Mac, Linux, and the PS4.
So no Xbox.
I shouldn't make fun of Xbox so much, but it's fine.
It's kicking the mother down, really.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. Night in the Woods is fucking dope. Night in the Woods is incredibly rad.
It is a very, very interesting game, and there are not a lot of games like it. It's kind of like in disguise almost, because it looks a lot like with the flat 2D control scheme and the cutesy animal things. It really does resemble a lot of other indie games out there. Mm-hmm. 2D throwback style games are pretty common in indie games, but not ones with this kind of story or thematic elements or world building.
Yeah, it's very heady. It just goes kind of hard with the themes it's trying to tell of like mental illness and social isolation and just this feeling of being an outsider in your own home. Was very relatable. We'll get into that in just a second.
There are a lot of games that are about outcasts and losers and people who are struggling with mental issues. Persona 5 is a great example of that, but none of them feel as real, and none of them go as deep into it from like they don't breach it in a way like Night in the Woods does.
Because none of that feels like real people. I mean, none of Persona 5 is an example, but as much as I like P5, none of those feel like real people that you'd really that you could encounter. I mean, they're relatable, but they don't. The issues don't quite feel as relatable. Maybe just because of the context. I mean, it is an anime game about fighting monsters. It being that, and like
yeah, they feel very relatable, but they don't feel like as realistic as the characters in Night in the Woods do.
Yeah,
and,
Night in the Woods.
Which is,
everybody in Night in the Woods feels like people I know. You know?
Yeah, it is like the realest game about cartoon animal people I've ever played.
And we'll just get right to it. Night in the Woods feels way almost creepily relatable for me, because I've mentioned it a few times here before, but I've never really said it exactly. I dropped out of college when I was 23, and I moved back to my small town Nowheresville home that has nothing going for it, but it's where my family lives, and it's where all my friends are. After I was gone off to college for 4 years. So Night in the Woods is the most weirdly relatable game I've played in a really long time. Maybe ever. Because all of those strange feelings of coming back to a place that you haven't been gone from for long. May was gone for 2 years, I was gone for 4 years. You haven't been gone from that town for long, but when you come back, it feels like a completely different place because things change very quickly, and you don't realize how quickly things change until you leave.
Yeah, it's one of the most realistic things I think about this, and kind of the perfect thematic summarization of what Night in the Woods is the very first, kind of casual conversation you have in the game, where they talk about how, the local stores are shutting down, and the corporate ones are moving in.
Oh yeah, we have a snack falcon now, which is what May says, and it's, the most relatable, saying ever.
That simple line of, we have a snack falcon,
Yeah.
That just tells you, pretty much everything you need to know about not only what the town is like, but May's perspective of the town.
Right, it doesn't have, we have these kind of big corporate entities that didn't exist in the town before, before she left. They mentioned that the old food donkey, which is the local grocery store, it shut down. It was where everybody worked forever. It was a family-owned, operated place that was just a homegrown-ass place that everybody went, and it shut down. And again, that's weirdly relatable.
That's real. That's super real.
It's a little strange, because again, there's this chain of there's 3 grocery stores in this town that are owned by the same family, and a bunch of people in each town. It's in 3 little small towns, kind of all connected. They're all owned by the same family, and they're it's where everybody works kind of thing, It was, stuff like that was just, it was bizarre, because, I picked Night in the Woods because, it got a lot of hype. It was funded in under 24 hours on Kickstarter. It made just an absolutely tremendous amount of money off of Kickstarter, because I guess everybody was kind of wanting a game like this that captures that feeling of living in small town Nowheresville and feeling like a stranger even in a very small place, It had, an amazing, immediately grabs your attention trailer, and it just, it exploded for a good reason, and it absolutely lives up to that hype. Yeah, which is rare on Kickstarter these days.
Yeah.
By the way, this is off topic kind of, but the craziness around Unsung Story is Mighty Number 9, but 1,000 times worse. Oh my god. Which is a thing we'll talk about later, another day, but oh my god. But no, Night in the Woods is the rare Kickstarter game that did what it set out to do and delivered very, very well, and is fucking beautiful.
It's this weird thing, and I also have the same problem with her story, is that, I try taking, organized notes about this game, and it's hard.
It is kind of hard.
It's not structured the way, the games we've usually talked about are. It is a very, very much a not a walking simulator, but very much a just 90% plot-driven game.
Yeah, and that's good because what little platforming there is complete garbage.
I do want to mention the fact that May has a triple jump.
Yeah, right? It's so weird.
Like, it's one of the weirdest, like, things to include into this game because
it's never used except at the very beginning.
You use it, like, very briefly in some of the dream sequences, but, like, beyond that, there's really no reason to give May a triple jump besides she makes a cute little noise when she does it.
She does. She makes a cute little, like, hat noise, and that's adorable. But, like, even in the little platformy sections in the dreams, because the triple jump's timing is really weird, like, you can't... I really never used it. I just found alternate ways to get up somewhere. Which...
There was exactly one moment in the dream sequence, and I can't remember which dream it was, but there was one moment where I saw, like, a platform layout, and I was like, oh, this is spaced exactly to use the triple jump on. Right.
Unless it's like a very specific platform layout, it's useless. And
then beyond that, like, it doesn't serve a purpose, and it's just a weird thing.
There's a place in town... Okay, so you can go to the roof of Greg's apartment, right? After a certain point. And there's you can jump from that doorway onto another platform, onto a power line, and it'll take you to a hidden theater on top of an abandoned building, and there's a lady playing a saxophone up there. I don't know if you found that.
I didn't.
Oh, man! See, that's the fun part about Night in the Woods. Yeah, it was really cool. It's like an old abandoned theater up on top of this shut down building, and it's a lady with a saxophone in there, and she's playing with a bunch of pigeons, and it's a really cool little thing to stumble upon. And the only way you can really get up there is if you're really good at your jump timing, and so I only did it once, although I think that lady has multiple conversations. After a certain point, I was like, you know what, it's not worth it. Because I could not time the jump to get up there. I did find the violin guy, and I found the kid who is really into horror movies. And what else did I do? I fed all the rat babies. What else? There's a ton. The cool thing is there's a ton of little hidden shit all over Possum Springs, which I love.
And there's so much, and like everything changes every day. Like, did you talk to Selmers every day?
I talk to Selmers every single day. Oh my god.
She's great. I love her poems.
Selmers is amazing. Selmers' poem at the library, like all of her poems up until that point have been kind of goofy, and then her poem at the library is about like existential millennial fear because like we've been fucked over. And you're like, holy shit, Sellers.
And then
Selmers.
You check May's notebook, and then she writes that if she dies, she wants Selmers to read a poem at her funeral.
Yes! I did let me think, what else did I do? I did all the stars, like you can do stargazing with your teacher from high school, and that's a lot of fun. I mean, there's just all sorts of little things. I talked to the guy who writes fish poems, and he's fun. I mean, just like all these little these little tiny micro stories that are all over the place.
One of the things I wrote down about this game, and I really, really like it, is that a lot of most of the cast in this game are absolutely willing to play along with May's weirdness.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can tell that some of them are kind of annoyed by it, but none of them are try to brush her off. And when she says something weird, they kind of go off it for a little bit.
Yeah,
and
right.
It's kind of nice to show that this community understands each other.
It's kind of, to go back to Persona, because I guess it kind of scratches the same itch that P4 scratched. The idea of little tiny micro narratives all over the place that P4 had, where if you talk to every townsperson every week, they had something different going on, is kind of the same thing here in Night in the Woods on a way smaller scale. And I love that. I know that it's almost impossible to do. There's a few other games that do it. Trails in the Sky apparently does it very, very well, so one day I'm going to play Trails in the Sky. Actually, I've heard Trails in the Sky does it better than anybody because it has micro-narratives spawning 5 or 6 games. Little NPCs with their own stories and stuff, which is oh my god, chill the fuck out.
This is unrelated to this, but we need... Because all I hear about Trails in the Sky is that it's just Tales cross Persona. It's like,
I know, oh my
dude,
god, how have we not
awesome.
played it yet, right? Like, between you and me, like, how the fuck have we not played Trails in the Sky yet?
Like, the only reason we haven't is because there's just so much other crap to play.
We just don't have any fucking time, oh my god, maybe next year at this rate.
Yeah.
I don't know, fuck.
But no, like, and what's nice about the little micro stories is that, like, because this game is so small in scope, like, it's not, like, you know, they say Inaba is a small town, but, like, you see the world map, and it's a decently sized town.
Yeah.
Like, it's small compared to, like, I don't know, Tokyo, but,
right.
You know, in Night in the Woods, everyone kind of knows each other, and you don't really get that with Persona 4.
Right.
Like, Possum Springs, everyone knows each other. Like, Inaba, they kind of, you know, they're familiar with locations, but, like, you can still run into complete strangers that you've never seen in your life.
Right,
but,
right.
Like, and so because of that, everyone's story changing every day is, like, it feels like everyone's kind of more on an equal level. Like, obviously, B, Greg, and Angus are, you know, more important because they're May's close friends, but, like,
right.
You know, characters like Selmers and your teacher, like, they still feel, like, almost as important, you know? And,
they feel like people you know.
Yeah, you know, Germ Warfare, too, who was kind of, like, the bonus friend.
My god, I love Germ. Are you kidding me?
Germ's so weird.
Germ is amazing. Oh, man.
I love it.
He's so good, because he's just like, yeah, I got some dynamite. What? Why do you have dynamite? I like that it's like, you know, just to keep it vague for as little spoilers as possible, I like that everybody's half dead, and they're all just kind of, like, exhausted and beaten down, and there's Germ going, I've got some dynamite, and they're all still like, why the fuck do you have dynamite?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, it's so good.
He's so great.
He's just a little weirdo, and I love the kid on top of the building who is into horror movies, whose name I'm forgetting right now, and I'm really sorry, kid, because you're adorable. Like, again, I feel like you know these people after you talk to them every single day, because I feel kind of bad that I don't know this kid's name. But he only mentions it, like, once, because May calls him kid all the time. But he's great. He's, again, it feels like a person you would know. Somebody who's from, like, the shitty side of town and is obsessed. He's 15. He mentions that. He's 15, and he's that weird kid in every high school who's really obsessed with blood and gore and really esoteric horror movies. Like, I knew 4 guys like that in high school, you know? Mm-hmm. I was friends with one of them. Alex, how are you doing? And you know, and it wasn't like a creepy obsession with blood and gore. It was just like a fascination with movie blood and gore. You know, it wasn't like this kid is gonna come shoot up the school kind of blood and gore. It was just, you could tell they really liked weird ass horror movies and they wanted to make them. And so this kid felt just as relatable as all of my friends that I knew in high school. These were people that, like, I knew, and you feel bad for them for kind of the same reasons. It's like, you know, living in a small town like that can sometimes feel a little hopeless. You have all these big dreams of wanting to go off and make horror movies, but then, like, eventually reality might just slap you in the face and be like, no, you don't get to do that, you know?
And, you know, we'll get heavy on that later, especially when we're talking about B, but, like, before we do that, I want to talk about how cute things are still before we get into the...
I know, right?
Into the, the dread.
You kind of can't help it either, because it's like this weird existential small town dread is, like, everywhere, even in, like, the cutesy bits.
Yeah, but I do want to talk, like, very briefly about a few more, like, because, you know, the crux of this discussion will be about the hopelessness and the mental anxiety and all that, but before we get that, before we can just keep scratching the surface... I fucking love May's parents.
May's parents are great. May's parents, again, are super, super relatable. They're, amazing. Her dad is fun and, you know, a little overworked, and he's tired, but they're just...
He asks her to watch, you know, his late night...
shitty comedy show.
His dad show with her, you know, with him.
The fucking dad show, and, you know, mom sits around and reads true crime novels all day, and is obsessed with... weird, creepy horror as well, which is amazing. And, they're really fun. And
I love the implication that May keeps waking up at like 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
every day.
she's up at like, which again, I used to do that too.
Yeah, that's super relatable. But like,
when you're like 20 years old and you still have the impulse to sleep in till noon, 2, 3 o'clock every day. Yeah, I can't do that anymore because I'm an old woman. But back in the day, stuff like that. Her parents are so funny about things like that, and her mom is so. I mean, I love her mom because again, it's like all so fucking relatable. Oh my god.
the little quirk of May always hopping up to sit on the counter and talk to her mom is like such a nice little touch.
And it's again, and little humanizing moments.
Her mom works at the church.
Her mom works at the church.
Like,
she's
that's
obsessed
like
with true crime, and it's really
that's like the most relatable mom thing ever for a small town, you know? Like,
right.
yeah,
your mom is a church lady.
Your mom works at the church, and your dad works at the local butcher, and you know, he sits on the couch every night with the beer, and he watches his dumb dad talk show with, you know,
right,
the two.
The two fucking Garbo and Malloy, like, the most dad comedy routine ever, where it's just
that's
like,
a whopper!
And you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, cause, you know, you're not of that generation, you're like, this is not funny, but they think it's funny, and you're like, alright, that's fine.
You know, it's the kind of like, it's the most, you know, middle-class white dad humor you can possibly think of.
Right, exactly. And
it's so perfect.
Yeah, and just again, it's all those little like humanizing details. The fact that it's kind of like weird to see your dad at work, like when you do see your dad at work, like stuff like that is fun. Because again, it just reminds you that this is an actual place.
Yeah, and, you know, even the simple fact that you have to keep pestering your dad to move the boxes in the attic.
Yeah, he won't do it. He keeps, like, forgetting and is like, no, watch TV with me instead. No, I need you to move these boxes, Dad. It's great. It's a dad thing. It's a very dad thing. It's a, you know, please stop forgetting because I told you, I asked you to do this thing. Like, it's those, you know.
Yeah. Can you pause it real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we're back.
What were we talking about?
Just that her dad is great and her parents are great, and they get all these little quirks of living in a small town with your parents just right.
I love the, did you get the achievement for the tooth side story?
Yes!
Yeah, I love the tooth side story. I love May giving her dad the tooth at the end of the game and being like, you show him this tooth and you tell that son of a bitch you want to raise, and her dad is like, language! But it's like, Dad, no, I'm trying to give you a pep talk here. Which is the most incredibly badass story ever. Of all the little tiny, like, backstory stories of Night in the Woods, the story of the fucking teeth is awesome.
Mm-hmm. I love that May is canonically little short round girl.
Yes.
Like, it's not just a little character design thing, like, characters mention that she, like, and she has that whole little thing where she talks about body positivity, like the internet says.
Yes. Yeah, I'm being body positive, just like the internet told me to be. Did you think... oh, wait, what?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask, did you think her grandpa was going to be a bit more, like, relevant? Like, that was the one thing that...
I really figured, like, there would be something with her grandpa. And
it's fine that there wasn't. I think that'd be almost
It's fine
easy.
there wasn't because it serves to further character... All it does is serves to further characterize her, is that she really loved her grandpa. Mm-hmm. He passed away, and he kind of instilled this kind of borderline obsession with, like, horror stories and ghosts and stuff. And, like, you know... He kind of, in a way, influenced her to believe there was a ghost.
Right, yeah.
In the town. Like, that's kind of why she quickly thought that thing, is because her grandpa told her horror stories all the time.
Right.
But, you know, the fact that he just serves as a deceased family member that she kind of that she really connected with is just another characterization thing that just furthered her along, and it was nice that way.
Yeah, I feel that.
There is one thing I don't get about May. If she's Polish,
yes,
why is she obsessed with pretzels at the pierogi stand?
Because pretzels are delicious.
Have you had pierogies?
I've had pierogies at your home. Remember?
Yeah. Remember how much better they were than fucking soft pretzels?
But pretzels are easier to steal. That's why she likes pretzels, because you can just grab one off of a fucking rack and walk away. Also, again, my god, this girl is way, like, I'm having, like, too many moments where I'm like, oh my god. Because, yeah, you are, like, the most lawful person I know. But I used to shoplift. Yeah.
I know you did.
I did not too often, but often enough. So, you know... Yeah, and, you know, she shoplifts at 20, and I'm like, don't do that. You get arrested for that. Because my ass stopped when I turned 18, because I know how the world works. But she was doing it, and I guess that's kind of like a good way to show her immaturity, is that at 20, she still is shoplifting, like, for the thrill of it, and after a certain point, the shoplifting there is, well, I guess I can't say that too much. I did shoplift candy for a little while at a bookstore in town. I shouldn't confess to that on the air.
Whatever, we're not going to arrest you now.
I guess not. But still, maybe I shouldn't be like, it's still kind of... I guess that makes me a little bit... I don't do it anymore. I'm 28 years old now. I don't steal shit anymore. Unless it's...
Don't steal, kids.
Unless it's pirating anime. That doesn't count.
Don't steal, kids. That just comes out of retail workers' pockets. You're not sticking it to the man at all.
Yeah, I've worked retail and I would still shoplift things, so I don't know. But still, the point to all of this is that every single little detail of May just made me feel, like, really weird. Because it was like, this girl is, like, canonically kind of an asshole and, like, very immature and has some fucking problems. And I'm like, I don't know if I should be identifying with this character as much as I am, but here we are. So it's fine. And I love May. I do. It's just, you know, she fucking shoplifts pretzels and shitty belt buckles at the Hot Topic ripoff that B is like, this place sucks. You're wearing a shirt from there. Shut up. You know, like, I love that scene in the mall where you can see the exact same t-shirt that B is wearing on the wall after she's like, this place sucks, and it's like, B... I love stuff like that. The mall sequence is a lot of fun. It's stupid, but it's a lot of fun.
For sure. Like, and, you know, that's kind of a good, like, the only kind of structure we can kind of give to this game, would be, like, to talk about the three other main characters, Angus, B, and Greg.
Right, yeah.
Like... so you hung out with B most often, right?
Yeah, I did. I hung out with B the most. I tried to do a little bit of Greg and, like, balance it, but I ended up just sticking with B because, like, I wanted to see kind of how things would turn out with her. I felt bad for her. I don't know, B is such, like, a strange, you know, at the end of B's, like, little arc is kind of worth all of the emotional turmoil that the arc puts you through. Because again, it kind of forces you to come to terms with your own immaturity, and so, but the end of her arc kind of is worth it, because that big moment of, like, both of them realizing that they've been maybe a little too hard on the other is really great, and the whole scene of May kind of running across rooftops to find B is really good, and the bit where they sit by the river and just talk about how fucking shitty everything is again, just like, feels like conversations you had with people you know when you're been out partying and you're sitting around at 2 a.m. and you're just trying to talk about, like, man, life is kind of bullshit sometimes.
I really liked, there were a few standout moments, I think, in May's, like, not in B's, all of them were great. They do a great job of, like, making each of their little outings, like, meaningful in some way, and I loved The Firefly bit, did you go to fix the heater?
No.
Okay.
There's a part where you could fix the heater?
I think it's... Because, it's funny, because, this is kind of like Persona, but not at all. Where it's if you don't hang out with a person on a certain day, you miss that event.
Oh, okay.
It's not like Persona where the social link will trigger no matter what. It's B or Greg will say, hey, do you want to do this today? And if you decline, then you don't get that event anymore.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why it's, totally worth it to go replay it and do different characters on different days.
Yeah,
but
I do want to replay it.
I think the first available outing with B is that you go with her to fix an old woman's heater.
Oh, really?
And she locks you in the basement accidentally.
Oh, yeah, B does mention that old lady does that every now and then.
And so when you fix, you get out of it, and B is frustrated and annoyed because of what happened, and you get control of May, and she runs around the field outside the woman's house and gathers up fireflies. The fireflies start hovering around her. Mm-hmm. And you walk back to B surrounded by fireflies.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It is. And so, that and the mall outing, which is one of the best moments in the game, probably.
It's so fun. It took me a second to figure out what they wanted from me with the fish god. But once I figured it out, it was super fun, and it was nice to see B kind of lighten up because she'd been so abrasive from then. Yeah,
because that's post the party.
Yes,
where B had to drive May home when she was hammered off of 3 watered down beers.
Yeah, and I love the bit in the car where your text options are very eloquent, but what comes out of May's mouth is just garbled nonsense, Yeah. It was great. It was kind of one of those, it's exactly how you feel sometimes, where you want to say the right thing and you fucking can't. It was awesome. I mean, yeah, that's those little moments again that feel like you're a real person. These are real people.
And and then the other party where you drive an hour out of town.
Yes.
To go to the city party.
Yes.
And you ruin that for B.
Yeah, but those guys were assholes, so
they were.
I guess May probably could have stopped running her fucking mouth, but at the same time those guys were you're from Possum Springs, I'll kick your ass. How's that sound? I like May threatening the 2 goth kids in front of the car as well.
Yes.
That was great.
I love
test
that
your luck, citizen?
I love that specifically because, that's how pissed off she is that she's been struggling so hard with, what she did in, when she was younger, but because she hurt B like that, she's willing to forego all of that, recovery she's been doing to fuck these guys up who are in her way.
Right, yeah, it was amazing. And just it's kind of like May has a little moment of being kind of a little badass. She's a crazy person, but
yeah,
it was badass too to just be like I said, I love the line, it's something like, do you want to test your luck, citizen? And
yeah,
I mean, this is canonically a little short pudgy girl who's just gonna apparently stomp the living shit out of you. So yeah, that was great. And for real, fuck those guys at that party. Fuck you guys. I'll kick your ass. Whatever. Think you're so fucking great just because you went to some fucking college. Whatever. Working at your daddy's internship. Kill yourself.
Shame she didn't, she missed her opportunity with Bombshell, though.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I love that, they have that meaningful conversation, B and May sit down and they talk about how everything sucks and how B has all this responsibility thrust upon her, and she has to sacrifice, her dreams. Meanwhile, May just fucking bails on her education for seemingly no reason and just, is done.
Yeah. Obviously, it's not for no reason.
Yeah, but to B, it looks like that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like the struggle is that, it was...
Yeah.
Sometimes it was kind of hard for me to hang out with B, because, like, again, I dropped out of college. And so it's like, you literally don't know, like, you don't know anything. Like, who are you to kind of judge somebody for dropping out of college? Like, May comes up with the bullshit excuse of, well, I just didn't fit. Well, yeah, that's a fucking bullshit excuse, and anybody with a functioning brainstem would know that. Yeah, it was just kind of like, again, it was all very weirdly, like, emotionally, like, way too, like, real in some parts.
And it's interesting because, like, you as the player don't know why May came home.
Right.
For all you know, one of her character... You know that her character flaw is that she's very immature and she has no patience for things that don't interest her.
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah, maybe it is that she just bailed, and the point is that she is a loser like that, and she just dropped out because she wasn't enjoying it anymore. And but you don't know that.
Yeah, you don't know that, but you can kind of just know, like, if you pay attention to kind of, like, the way she acts, you can kind of pick up on the fact that maybe it's a little bit more than just, like, she's just a fucking loser.
But we don't have that full confirmation, and that's what makes that conversation with B so interesting, is that, like, she is, like, you just gave up on the thing that I can't have.
Right.
And you're kind of like, well, I don't know what May did, so maybe B's right, and this is what May has to get over, and then, no, it's much, much worse.
Right. Yeah, it's all just, it's so much worse. It's so much worse. Oh, man, but, I mean, yeah, I don't really know what else to say, because it's also, I don't know.
I totally think May has a crush on B.
Oh, yeah. I can see that. I could totally see that. Ah, crap. Hold on. You're gonna have to cut this part out of the audio. Boo! Chuck, cut it out! Sorry. They got
good? Okay.
They got into something while I was in the middle of recording, and I was just like, you gotta stop. And, like, Diva's fucking chewing on her toenails, and I'm like, you guys need to stop. I'm trying to do this. So,
alright, but,
we'll have to cut all this out, but.
Yeah, but no, like, it's just, it's, sometimes all you can just say is, like, fuck, that's real. Like,
yeah, like, that's real. Like, that's just what the whole game is. It's just a bunch of moments of some real-ass bullshit,
They go that extra step with B where it's like, yeah, she has to support her dad now because her dad can't function ever since her mom died.
Right.
And they really drive home the fact that, yeah, B can't just, like, leave now.
Yeah, you can't just pack up and go
She
anymore.
she can't go away to college anymore. She can't leave the town.
Right.
And, that's, like, the way they have it is, like, you kind of see that a lot in other, like, games like this, or stories like this, where you get that happen, where the kid kind of has to take care of the parent after an incident or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that alone is, sad and a compelling character thing, but, like, yeah, to go that step further where it's like, yeah, B had all these plans that are now completely uprooted because she can't physically go away anymore.
Right. And it's just kind of like, it's that tragedy of the small town that never kind of goes away. Like, if you live in one of them, you just see that story kind of all of the time. It comes in different forms and it happens in different ways, but the story is the same story every single time. And it's really hard to get those resources to leave if you want to leave your shitty small town. It's your dad got sick, so now you can't leave. Well, or you ended up getting pregnant, and now you can't leave. Or you just don't have the money to go to college, because that's how life works sometimes, and it's fucking bullshit. Yeah. Or you're just not, or you go to college, and it turns out your small town education kind of sucked. So you're not prepared for like, the rigors of college, which is a total thing that happens a lot. Or your parents never got you ready to be on your own, which is, I think, part of what happened with May. And all of these things, you know, you have all these expectations on you if you do make it to college, which is another thing that I think was kind of like, I mean, this is just hypotheticals and me kind of maybe just extrapolating from things, but like, I think part of the reason May failed in college is because they mention a few times that May is basically like their little miracle baby. Like, they had a bunch of miscarriages, and then May happened, and she was their only kid, and so they put, like, all of their hopes and dreams on her. You know,
yeah,
she's the first person in their family to go to college, and blah, so there are all these expectations, and there's literally no way you can make it under all of that expectation, you know?
Yeah, when you have that all that external pressure, and then on top of your internal problems, yeah, it's no wonder that she couldn't do it anymore.
It's like... And then again, it's the tragedy of the small town. It happens every day, and it happens to most people living in a town like this. You know, you find a way. A lot of people, you know, they mentioned that a lot of kids manage to leave and they never come back, which is also very true. And then you have these little shrinking populations that are just old people and everybody who couldn't find a way out, and it never ends. And, like, it's those weird, heavy moments like that are what Night in the Woods really is. Like,
yeah,
that's what Night in the Woods is.
Yeah, you have the outside veneer of the cool little quiet town where everyone knows each other, and you have a bunch of quirky characters, and then that's just the surface, and then you go deeper than that, and you see it for what it really is.
Yeah, you literally go deeper than that, as in 700,000 feet beneath the surface of the Earth.
Yeah. But before we get into that part, I do want to talk a bit about Greg and Angus.
Yeah.
Because, like, Greg rules.
Greg rules, okay?
Greg rules. But I didn't hang out with him as much as I did B, but I did have one that I was like a punch to the gut.
Which one was it? Because I don't know if I got it.
I did one where you and Greg go into the woods and you shoot a deer dummy with crossbow bolts.
Oh, I did not do that one. Okay.
Yeah. So they do that, and they, you know, I'm pretty sure the way because it goes through like a little first-person reticle mode where you can shoot, you know, crossbow bolts, and it's like wobbling back and forth and whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure I could have had May aim at the birds on the trees.
Oh, really?
But I didn't.
No, of
because
course not.
I didn't want to put that on May, but
right.
like, I'm pretty sure that would have led to something.
Yeah, you could have done that, yeah.
Yeah. But then afterwards, they kind of like hang out near like a little lake or river area, mm-hmm. and you've seen Greg as like this kind of weird, quirky guy who has no responsibility, and he wiggles around and puts cups on his ears and all that. And then he says to May, like really casually, like, yeah, I have good days and bad days.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, right.
Right.
Greg is this way because Greg has some sort of mental
like bipolar
problem.
Or something or other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is unstable, and that's why he can't focus. That's why he's so hyperactive, and that's why he is so keen on doing crimes. It's not because he's weird and quirky, it's because he's not, you know, he's messed up.
Yeah, he's got his fucking problems, just like everybody else, and it you know, there's an explanation for why people are the way they are, which is like, I think maybe the biggest point of Night in the Woods. There's a bunch of points about Night in the Woods, mm-hmm. but I think the biggest one is that like, there's a reason people are the way they are, and you should try to understand that. Except of course for the fucking people in the mine shaft, but we'll get there in a second.
Yeah. But like, and I love, it's kind of hard to talk about, I can't really say much more about Greg because I didn't do his stuff.
Yeah, I wish I did more.
Okay, we're back.
I don't know why it keeps doing this. I really don't.
Okay, so,
Greg and Angus.
But yeah, so, we didn't do Greg, but like, I read a bit on his story, and like, it's a lot about how Greg and Angus really need each other, because, like, Greg needs someone to look after him.
Right.
And Angus kind of does need someone to basically be the parent of.
Right, yeah.
And, like, having someone to, like, to kind of take care of is what gives Angus stability.
Right, and so they balance each other out, and they're a little bit closer, I think, than B realizes, because I think B thinks she knows, or she's right more often than she actually is.
Yeah.
And so she thinks they're not going to last, and I don't know if B is correct about that or not. I don't think
And I think part of it is, I think you get that conversation when you do hang out with B more than Greg, so yeah you don't know as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly. But I wish I had hung out with Angus when it was ghost hunting time. Like, I wished I had done that.
Yeah, I didn't get to do his. I thought we'd get to do all three of them, but I did, B and Greg. Or no, yeah, I did B and Greg.
Yeah, I did B and Greg. I don't think you can do all three. I think you can only do two of them.
Yeah.
Which is...
I think, you only get the two, and then it goes to the end game. So yeah, I would have liked to have actually hung out with Angus on that one, because I want to see what his deal is.
Well, that's an excuse to play this game again, because there's a
for
lot
you
to find. There's a lot for you to find in a second run. Mm-hmm. So I really want to play this game again when I have the time, which I never have the time right now. Mm-hmm. But I will make the time at some point in the future, damn it, to replay this game and really get into the bits that I missed, you know?
Mm-hmm. So the other, like, really there's only two more points we really need to talk about, which is the cult and then May herself.
Right.
Like, so I have very mixed feelings about the cult. I like the cult and I like the horror aspect of it. Mm-hmm. But when I got to that point, it was a little bit jarring to suddenly have, like, this blatant supernatural element to it.
Right.
You know? And I like it. I think, like, it serves to further characterize, you know, the town and whatnot. And it also serves to further the theme of, like, the old folks want to keep the town the way it is, and they're afraid of the change and growth. And that ties back into the kids who are... you know, mm-hmm. Going through this town when the town is stagnant and they're trying to grow out of it.
Right.
You know, like a flower, like, you know, like a tree that's trapped in a flower pot.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so the cult only serves to do that. So it functions for its purpose, but I'm also like, well, if they were just a cult, if the elder god beneath the town wasn't real... Mm-hmm. It would be the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I just really like cosmic horror. So
I do too.
No,
I like that it is there. Mm-hmm. And it's not like I don't know which one would be better or worse, but I'm also like I don't know, because I think it's really cool and it's interesting in that, you know, there is this cosmic element to it. Mm-hmm. But I'm also like, was it necessary, or was it just cool, or, like, you know, does it serve a higher purpose?
I don't know. Hold on. I'm, like, trying to, like, really kind of... I think you probably could have done without it, but the cosmic horror thing is maybe more... I don't know. I think it works in the context of the story because it kind of helps give this idea of feeling like you're a stranger in your own home. You know, this idea that you know, we say it's a small town where everybody knows everybody, but it's not, because nobody cared that Casey Hartley went missing. Nobody notices when people vanish from the, you know, from the town, like small. The cult instinctively, like their idea is to target people who won't be missed. It's kind of insinuated that May was next. And her.
Okay, I will. Mm-hmm. I will say one thing. How fucking scary was it when you're spying on the cult and May gasps and you hear May?
Yes.
May Borowski?
Yeah, that part was fucked up because it's a weird thing because these people know you, and it's kind of suggested that Aunt Mall Cop might be one of them.
Yeah, because she's not in the ending.
Yeah, you know, and she's always kind of like, don't stick your nose into this thing, May. And, you know, she says that May is kind of, you know, this young, naive kid, and this weird insinuation that the people you know you might not know, and
she's also the one who's like, don't think about the arm, it's not your business, blah blah blah.
Right. And I think that's another part of shitty small town life, is that the people you know, they keep their shittiness to themselves. They keep their horribleness under wraps, and it only comes out when something happens. Stuff like that is relatable. That is, it's kind of like a bigger version. It's the big creepy cosmic version of everybody keeps their skeletons in a closet in small towns, and nobody talks about it. That's all. Mm-hmm. It's just that on a horrible murdering scale.
Yeah.
And I think the dreams and the conversation with God, and finger quotes God, and that stuff, I think all of that kind of the weirdness that May goes through, and that's all necessary to kind of help you understand. I don't want to say that it's like helps you understand the theme of the game, because then that makes it sound like the game is holding your hand and like telling you what its theme is. But I think it's there to just let you know what the devs are kind of, what the writers feel.
I would love to see what the developers like. I want to hear the developers' reason for including the supernatural elements.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it was like, oh, I don't like this weird cosmic stuff out of nowhere. I'm just wondering why it's in this game when you didn't necessarily need it. Maybe you did. Maybe I'm misinterpreting the events and you do need it. I want to know more about this.
Right. I want to know. I definitely want to know kind of the purpose of it and the reasoning for it, but I think it fits. I do think it fits in the game. I think it's kind of it's a way to explain why Possum Springs is so strange, why things are the way they are, and to keep it from just being a walking sim. To kind of give it, sure. Maybe it is just to give it a little bit more excitement, which is fine. I mean, there's
that's fine.
Wrong with that. Yeah. Because I liked everything that had to do with the cult, because I thought all of those scenes were really chilling and very well done. It wasn't like overdone cultiness. They were like they called them the dad cult. You know, it was the cult of dads, because it was like these people who are just your old shitty neighbors who are afraid that the immigrants are coming to take their jobs and blah 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 blah, stuff like that. That's all. Yeah. So I think it has a purpose, and I think it's in the game for a reason. But I would like to know. I want to read more about this game. I do.
Yeah, I want to see what the developers intended for this. I really am curious about that.
Yeah, and I loved it. I loved the conversation with God, and I loved the whole.
Yes.
It is a little nihilistic, but it's like a weird nihilistic optimism, where it's like, God doesn't care, so do whatever you want, and that's kind of like liberating in a way. Which is, God doesn't care, so do whatever you want, you know? It's not like, oh, God doesn't care. It's, God doesn't care, you're fine, you know?
Yeah, it's that picture of nihilism where it's nothing in life matters, and it's the kid with the sunglasses, and he's like, nothing in life matters!
Nothing in life matters, so do whatever you want. It's kind of a weird way to think about it, but I like it. I think it's a good kind of weird theme, but it fits very much with kind of the generational climate of today, you know, where nothing really matters. For sure.
So speaking of nothing in life mattering, let's get as heavy as fucking possible on this podcast.
Yeah.
Let's talk about May Borowski and her problems.
May's got some fucking problems. We kind of talked about them briefly, but boy, May has got some fucking problems, right?
When her conversation on the couch with B about her dissociation, is like, I was almost brought to tears by it.
Yeah, it's very heavy.
And I think one of the best things about it is that she explicitly states she was playing some dumb video game.
Yeah.
And realized the characters she had spent all this time with weren't real, and didn't matter.
Yeah, and it's like
And
you're
she
sitting
says
there
that-
because you're sitting there playing a dumb video game where none of these characters are real and don't matter, and like that's like a really uncomfortable wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
And that's what that does is that exactly draws you in to how uncomfortable this whole discussion really is.
Yeah, because it's like you feel just as like weirdly emotionally connected to the characters in this game, and they do a good job of making you feel connected to these characters. And then,
what it is, it's the equivalent of like her saying like, I suddenly blanked out and saw everything as just shapes, and then she turns straight to look at you.
Yeah. Everything is just shapes.
Yeah, and then, and how that leads to her just snapping and beating up this kid.
Right.
And you've heard the story, throughout the game, and you have no idea what happened, but you just know that May beat someone up,
right.
and you kind of think like, okay, well, yeah, May is a troubled kid, and she has problems, and it's not unrealistic to think that maybe as a kid she went nuts on someone, and she just kind of got riled up about something and she took it too far.
Right.
Because that's May Borowski. She takes things too far.
Absolutely.
And then you find out, no, it's because she just completely dissociated and she blanked out on everything.
Yeah, and just wanted to feel something. And it was for no reason. I mean, it really was. Like, that's kind of like the crazy, like, that's the scariest part, the kind of the most uncomfortable part, is that ultimately she beat the shit out of that kid for basically no reason. She just to kind of feel something, which is horrifying, but,
He wasn't antagonizing her. He wasn't antagonizing her. He wasn't, like, interacting with her in any way.
Yeah.
She had to beat up this shape with a baseball bat.
Right,
And I think it's very telling that one of her dreams has her smashing things with a baseball bat.
Yeah. Because she smashes up light bulbs with Greg, too, for funsies.
Yeah.
That's like, violence and doing bad things is that's a way to feel alive. It's not the right way to feel alive, but it works.
And, the simple fact that, like, I didn't click on this right away, but I took a little time to think about it, is that, she has a conversation with B later on where she's like, yeah, the town psychiatrist told me to fill out a notebook and write a diary.
And that's it.
And, and it's like, your town psychiatrist is also the physician and dentist of the town.
Yeah, the shitty GP.
And it's like, May, so the obvious thing is, like, May needs to get help, and she got help, but she got shitty help.
Yeah, and shitty help exists. Like, you can get help, but... And it's the trap of the small town that I mentioned earlier. You live in a small enough town, you take what you can get. There is no great psychologist who can work you through your help, because you live in a shitty... The town I live in, our one, like, actual dedicated psychiatric services place shut down last year.
Yeah, so you're fucked.
You're fucked! I mean, I don't know where I would go now. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody, but I don't know who they are. The one place in our shitty town that had, like, an actual psychiatry blah-de-blah on the door shut down, and the office is vacant now. And they kind of sucked anyways. They never got back to anybody about anything, which is why they shut down, probably. That's the curse of the small town. It's the trap. It's you take what you can get, and as it turns out, it just kinda sucks. So you're still stuck.
It made it worse, because, he tells May to write a diary.
And keep her anger puddled in.
Yeah, and it's like... Yeah, writing a diary is good as a secondary thing on top of a prescription or a regular meeting thing with, a therapist or something.
Right, like actual decent psychotherapy, along with a diary.
And so no wonder that she couldn't handle college, because she was given basically nothing to help, and, she talks about how she just spent days and days in her dorm room, because she was afraid to go outside because there was a statue out there that freaked her out.
Yeah, that stared at her and made her feel like, that she was just shapes, and it was just shapes, and everybody around her was just shapes. It's fucked up. It's scary. Like, that's like a real-ass feeling. And the girl's got some fucking problems, and you just kind of feel like nobody... It sucks, because it feels like nobody can really understand, because it's kind of hard to understand. If you're in, like, B's position, you see May, and you think, like, oh, she just pitched away her chance at college, and it's a little bit more complex than that.
Yeah, and it's like, on top of all this, the game just kind of ends.
Yeah, because nothing gets... I mean, like, that's the thing. There are no happy endings.
She kind of, like, she confesses to what really happened at college, and, in our playthrough, when we talk to B, it's like, yeah, they kind of get to know each other a little better, and May kind of pushes her to be like, road trip, road trip, road trip.
Right.
But, that's it. She's not better, she's not cured of it, she's not,
Yeah.
B doesn't come to terms with having to take care of her dad.
Yeah.
She's not like, oh, I'll get to go, I found a scholarship in the mail or whatever. Like,
right. There's no happy endings. It's just like, this, and it's not that there's no happy endings, like, it's not really an ending period. Like, this whole game is just kind of like, fuck, it's like 2 weeks out of this kid's life. Yeah, and I mean, like,
and that's it.
That's it, and that's really, because, like, things don't get resolved like that, and, and that's fine. I mean, it works great, because there is still some resolution, and there is still some, like, I love the line, it's at the very end of the game, and, like, write it on my forehead so I can never forget it. Nothing is gonna save you forever, but there are a lot of things that can save you today. Yeah. And, like, that's really all it is that it's like, you just need a reason to kind of keep doing what you're doing every day.
Yeah, we're not...
Yeah.
It's not, like, a conclusion of, like, she is ready to live her real life now. It's just this quick slice. It's just... We get to see this small town for 2 weeks, and a major event happens in that town.
Yeah.
For sure. But, like, after that, the problems aren't fixed. They're just kind of... It's just one step closer to recovery or something.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's fine. And that's what makes Night in the Woods so interesting and memorable, is that, it's just, we're done. We don't need to see any more of that town. We're good. We got our story out of it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's it. That's all you really need. You don't need a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, and it's so good. God, it's so good.
Night in the Woods is not... It has a lot of similarities to Persona, but it is not Persona.
Right.
And that is, like... It's great. Like, I can't believe this game exists, and I'm so happy with it. And just, like... Fuck, good job, guys!
It's so... And, like, just to, like, end it on, like, a higher note before we switch over to her story, I've never been so glad that game didn't end on a fucking rhythm game.
Oh my god, yeah!
I was so afraid! I was so, like, legitimately afraid. They're like, let's just do band... May's like, can we just do band practice, please? For, like, one day?
And you're like, oh, it's a resolution, and... Please don't make me do it. Please don't make me do it. Please don't make me...
Please
don't. Oh, thank God.
Oh, thank you, God. I was so worried that it would be like band practice, and then they would be like, yeah, now let's go get some pizza, and that would be how the game ends. You know what I mean? I was so afraid that I would have to do another fucking bass sequence, because those are the worst fucking part of the game. They're so hard!
As someone who like, played DDR and, like, played Stepmania for, like, a good, like, 5 years of my life...
They're so hard!
To suddenly be like, hey, here's a rhythm game. I'm like, no, you can't, no.
They're so, the prompts come at you so fast, and they're all just on the thumb part. Like, you can't, like, redo it, like, on the, like, with the shoulder pads or anything like that to make it a little, you've got to do all of it with just your thumb, like, not with all of your fingers, which is what makes it easier sometimes. Oh my god, it's so hard! What the hell? Oh my god, why?
And there's no way to, like, you would think you could go to your base in your room and practice with it.
No.
Fuck you, do it.
Fuck you, here's the song, have fun. I don't know. I did not pass a single one of them. Like, every single one of May's little journal entries about her bass playing are all, oh my god, I suck. And I'm like, I'm sorry, May, we suck, forgive me. Because I suck. I suck at the bass sequences in Night in the Woods. They're bad. I'm bad. And I'm really glad the game didn't end on one, because it would have soured my feelings immediately. I would have been like, I hate this game! We're not talking about it on the Gorge! I can't do fucking rhythm games! So yeah.
Fucking
Night in the Woods is good. You should definitely go play it, even, and just and cry a lot, like a lot. If you have any emotions, you'll cry. So yeah, it's great and beautiful, and the music is super awesome, and the dream sequences were amazing. We didn't even get a chance. I don't want to focus. I mean, it's just a visual thing. You can't talk about them too much, but they're beautiful. The game is just beautiful, just in general.
Yeah, it is a very visually pleasing game in every aspect, and just like it does everything right, and it's great. Okay, one more time, we're back.
Okay, Audacity, why are you doing it? Why do you have to be this way? But okay, so that's a good way to segue into what we're doing next.
Yeah. So the next one we're talking about is the other game we both played for Indie Week, and that is Her Story.
From the guy who brought us Silent Hill Shattered Memories, and
Sam Barlow,
and the canceled Legacy of Kain Dead Sun, which I know you don't care about, but I was always very bitter about that, because I love the Legacy of Kain games, holy shit. Her Story is...
for a lot of stuff.
It's on mobile devices and the PC. And I should have played it on my phone. I didn't realize that was an option, but it's fine. It worked just fine on my desk, or my little shitty laptop, so it's fine. Interesting, right? What an interesting thing.
There's a lot, I've never seen a game with a story, this method of telling a story.
I think... there isn't as much to say about it, thematically. I don't really think it has a theme the way that Night in the Woods does, which is fine. I mean, not everything needs to have a deeper purpose, I don't think. But what it does very well, and I think it's kind of it does it better than anything. I think if you want an example of what video games do that other storytelling mediums can't, you can't do much better than Her Story.
Yeah, this is a game that can literally, down to its fundamental core, can only exist in the form of video games. If you try to put it into any other medium, it will lose literally everything that makes it special.
Yeah, exactly. Every other kind of medium would require some kind of other story than just looking at video clips,
Yeah. It's... and it is the kind of game where, how do you say you've beaten it?
Yeah, you really, I guess, when you get 100% database.
Yeah, when you get all the clips, but, I mean, the game even prompts you, hey, it's literally, at one point the game literally says, do you want to just stop now?
Yeah, once you've kind of figured out or seen certain clips to a certain point, that's when the game is kind of well, you can stop now if you want, or you can keep listening to kind of figure things out more. It's interesting. It's the only... That's video games. It's not gamey. There's no points or kills or blah blah blah, all those other fucking video game things, collectibles. It's not video gamey, but it would only work as a video game.
Yeah. You couldn't transcribe this into a book or to even to a tabletop puzzle game.
Yeah.
You require the search function.
Yeah, that's what really does it, is that the kind of the brilliance of the search function. By the way, I showed you the video last night, but I love dropping names. Mark Brown over at Game Maker's Toolkit on YouTube did a really good video about the brilliance of her story's search function and how it kind of guides you to see the plot in somewhat of chronological order, but still, after a certain point, it kind of opens up and lets you see the story in your own way. It's a great video.
The way it's built is that it drops these hints occasionally, and you're kind of drawn towards these hints because, like, oh, you'll hear a name or you'll hear a term.
Yeah.
You know, and then that'll lead you to a further search. But that's all it does. Everything about this is available immediately, and if you know exactly what to search for, you can find the ending right away. But the words you're searching for will appear in other earlier clips, and that's what makes it so brilliant, is that there really is no way for you to search and get the answer immediately.
Yeah, you would have to search for something really, really specific. I like that you can get basically the confession, like the big moment where you kind of get the ending, if you search the name of the game.
Yeah.
You can get... And, I mean, I didn't even think about... Honestly, I had been playing for a while, and I had mostly figured out what had happened. And I finally was like, I wonder what happens if I search the name of the game. Oh, that's what happens. Oh!
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool, because those are things that you don't really think of, because if you just search story, right, you get a lot of stuff that is not the big, final, important piece of information, you know? They talk a lot about fairy tales, and they talk about a lot of the stories they read as kids, so you'll get those videos. You won't get the video unless you specifically search for her story. And I think that was brilliant. I think it was super well done. There isn't a lot to say about the plot itself. It's pretty bare bones. It's just a murder story with a kind of interesting
twist to it. This is the kind of thing that would be like a forgettable detective novel.
Yeah, it wasn't,
you know?
It wasn't anything super great. I do kind of like the theory that they're the same person, that there is no twin sister.
that was one thing I did want to bring up, is that the interesting idea is that there are no twins, and that Hannah/Eve is just the same person with multiple personalities, or she has constructed this elaborate lie about the situations regarding the murder, and, you know, there's no way for you to prove that one way or the other.
Right.
And it's just extrapolation of what... the game dumps this information on you, and you're like, okay, this is what happened.
Right.
Or is it?
Yeah. I had a lot of moments where I thought I had figured out who was who. Like, for a while, I thought, you know, for a pretty large portion of the game, I was thinking I was really going with the twins theory. I was fine with it. It worked. It was kind of like a cheesy plot twist, but it worked is exactly that. Just a kind of cheesy detective-y plot twist that, oh, there's a secret hidden twin, you know, like a identical twin. And if you type that in, you actually get, you know, the game kind of pokes fun at you for thinking, like, twins? Really? You know?
Now, Sarah, I want to ask you a question.
Yes?
You've seen The Prestige, right?
I have not.
Okay.
Don't spoil The Prestige. I know, I know.
Then that doesn't mean anything to you.
It means nothing to me. I know. I need to watch The Prestige. And you would think as much as I love Christopher Nolan movies, I would have seen The Prestige by now. I just haven't had a chance to watch The Prestige. And amazingly, as much as people talk about it, and this is off topic, but whatever, I have not even had The Prestige spoiled for me, which is just tremendous. Like, I guess because of what we're talking about, there's twins involved, but that's all. I know David.
You'll see. There's a whole thing. You'll see.
I know David Bowie is there.
Yeah. But anyway, like, the point is that, like, it's not so much what the story is, which it is a weird murder thing, which is the quality of the story as it is, you know, as it is laid out, would basically be like a pretty decently told detective story that you pick up off a bookshelf somewhere.
Right.
But again, it's the method. It is you are given all the evidence laid out in a giant pile.
Yeah.
And it's up to you to sort through it and categorize it and literally write things down, because if you are not taking notes...
Yeah, you saw the cover of this episode is my notes from the game. That's my actual physical notebook that I take notes in around my house. And that's what my notebook looked like by the end of this. And eventually I even wrote, does it even matter who is who? And I guess it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. It's, you know, again, kind of like Night in the Woods, how it's like the way the game concludes and the way the game presents information is like, here it is, and then it leaves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, you're given a conclusion, but you're not given the entirety of the conclusion. And, you know, the biggest plot twist we get, like, beyond the fact that they're twins, beyond the fact that, like, the exact details of the murder, blah, you know, all that... Mm-hmm. The biggest thing is who we actually are.
Yeah, you fucking jerk. I bet you really got a kick out of seeing that who we actually are is somebody named Sara. I bet you thought that was fucking funny, huh?
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, you bastard.
But I mean, that's the reason I told you to keep the glare on is because when you would trigger certain events, the screen would get dark. You hear the police sirens, the lights would go on, and you'd see the reflection of who you were.
Yeah, it was super cool.
You know.
It was amazing.
And then, I don't know, did you ever check the clock program on the computer?
I did check the clock program.
Yeah, and that gives away what year it actually is.
Yeah, which is great. Mm-hmm. I love the cheesy, I love I just like the interface. I just thought that was super...
Oh my god, right?
Right? Just, the whole fucking everything. Like, it's, again, a thing that only, like, a video game can do, you know?
Yeah. Like, you would never get that... You couldn't get the aspect of that interface with the screen glare, mm-hmm. with the few applications... Because, it's a work computer, so obviously they wouldn't have anything extraneous on it.
Right.
Except for the little... applications game in the dumpster, in the garbage bin.
Yeah, it's the mirror game, which is, you know, apt, considering, because it's basically a game you play against yourself. You're supposed to play it with another person, but it's a game you play against yourself, which is an incredibly unsubtle thing on Sam Barlow's part.
Yeah.
But I like it.
And, you know, ultimately that game is just useless, and, you know, you don't get anything for whatever. You get an achievement if you get a tie.
Oh, really?
But that's it.
Okay.
Like, it doesn't unlock anything. It's not like a secret program. It is, again, like a standard work computer, which, you might find solitaire on your work computer if you dig a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So...
Go
ahead first.
I was just going to say, just the whole, the conceit of functioning and working with this clunky old computer is part of kind of what her story is. It's about playing a video game. I mean, it's a puzzle. It's about playing a video game. And I know that's really weird, but it's a game to to Hannah/Eve. And, so all of this it's just a game at every step of the way, and so that's why her story is kind of like a quintessential. It's like a video game, you know. It's a thing that couldn't be anything else, so it is like a video game, which is really cool.
And like, I just for a game that has no points, that has no objectives, that has nothing that makes other video games video game. Yeah. It is the most video game thing that could ever exist. It is something that could only be a video game. For something as and this is something that's plot driven. Like, you know, games that don't have any sort of structure or anything, they can only exist in video games to be in their current state. But this is a game that's all about just a story. And
I think that's interesting. I think that's a good thing, because, because sometimes you hear a lot of people argue that video games shouldn't have any plot at all, and those people are idiots. And this is a good argument for why video games do need plots. Because video games can tell stories that literally no other medium can tell in the same way, you know?
It's it's interesting because when you talk about how games are art, the games that always get brought up are Shadow of the Colossus,
Right.
or or Ico or stuff like that. This is a game I would also put right up alongside those for more or less the same reason, which is that this game is beautiful, not in the artistic way, not in the visual way, but in a way that's it is telling a story in such a unique way that you cannot replicate it any way. And I even thought about because I remember telling you I saw Her Story. It was a show on Netflix, I think.
Right.
And I thought, oh my god, they made an adaptation of Her Story? How would you...
You can't.
And I've thought about, how would you adapt this into a movie or into a TV show? And the answer is you can't. Because, what could you do? Is show the interview and then show the actual course of events, or
right,
or what, like a recreation thing, on a detective show like that, or a true crime show,
right? And it just wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work because you wouldn't get that impact of figuring out the details on your own.
The excitement of finding a fresh clip, one you've never seen before, that's exciting. That's an oh my god moment.
And it's not in the way of same things like say Phoenix Wright, where it's piecing together the evidence in Phoenix Wright is fun, but Phoenix Wright is still a very linear project where it's you present the evidence. Phoenix Wright or even LA Noire, where it's there's more standard versions of detective stories and figuring out mysteries, which is still a fun aspect, and solving the case. It still requires a lot of brain power and thinking things through. But with this one, you're given everything.
Yeah,
yeah.
Go ahead.
You piece it together in your own order.
Yeah.
You pursue leads in the way that you want to, not in the way that the game kind of requires you in order to keep its functionality.
Yeah, because in Phoenix Wright, you have that problem all of the time, where you know what piece of evidence you want to use, but you can't until the game gets to that point. Mm-hmm. You have this piece of evidence and it's proof that somebody is lying, but you can't just show the evidence and be here, blah, 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 this is why you're lying. You have to wait until that person says a line that can be contradicted with this piece of evidence. You can't just present it and be this is why you're full of shit,
Yeah,
because it's
exactly.
the limitations of the game. That's just, it's a puzzle in its own way. You have to put the certain piece in that spot at the right time.
And I think part of the reason for that is because games like Phoenix Wright or LA Noire are still more plot driven, in that there's stuff going on outside of the murder, and that is that if you prove that the guy was in the room at the time, well, then you can't have the next event in the case go, because you need to catch them on the other lie, and then then another twist happens, and whatever. But because Her Story is set up in that there is no outside story besides the case, besides you at the interface working that out, they have all that freedom to let you decide how you want to pursue things. You can figure out more about the victim by typing in their name, their workplace, their friends, or you could start off by investigating the woman herself, and you could try to track down her name, and you can find relatives and that, and that's how you piece it together yourself.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary.
It's really, it's just, it's great in its simplicity, simplicity
exactly.
is what really makes it. It can't be anything else because it doesn't need to be anything else, which is fun.
And again, kind of how I said, whether or not we need the cult, or I want to know why they included the cult. It's kind of in the same way as, do we need... Is the surprise at the end that you are Sara,
right,
investigating your mother's case, is that necessary, or would you have been as satisfied if you had just figured out the truth?
I personally don't really think you needed the Sara thing. It was kind of fun, but I don't think it was really necessary. But it also was it's a good way to kind of just end. You need some kind of way to symbolize that you are at the end now. Here is your thing. It shows why you're here, why you're researching this case, that kind of thing. So it kind of helps it closes the book. It says, like,
Yeah.
you're done. You know why this is, why, you kind of have an idea. This girl is looking for some kind of closure. That closes the book on the story. So in that way, it's necessary, and I don't think there's any other way to kind of do that. But I don't think like the whole Sara twist was. I guess it is kind of needed. I don't know. I'm really kind of torn on it. It's the definitive conclusion of the game. Yeah.
And I think that it is a necessary thing to provide that closure.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's kind of like the ribbon that ties the present together.
Right.
Like, the ribbon itself is not necessarily needed, but it would feel incomplete without it.
Yeah.
Functionally, it serves really no purpose, but it would not be... You would not feel like the thing is finished without it.
Right, right.
Now, my question for you...
Oh, boy.
...is who is SB?
Oh, that's Sam Barlow.
That's who you think?
Yeah, it's Sam Barlow. It's just Sam I guess that's like the one thing Saturn and I, before we started the podcast, Saturn and I were talking about it, and they did bring up a good point, that it is a little too on the nose, because it's like Sam Barlow kind of going like, do you understand the point of my game, player? Like, that might be the one thing. It's a little too, like, obvious. Like, that's who SB is. It's Sam Barlow. Going like, did you get the point? Did you? So maybe that wasn't quite necessary. I don't know if there's any other way. I mean, to keep it all text-based, you kind of needed the chat, but, I don't know. I don't know if there was, like, any other way you could have, like, ended the game without it being a chat with the actual fucking director of the game.
Because, like, the thing about it is that, like, there aren't any other characters it could be. Simon is dead. Hannah and Eve are gone.
Right. No, it's Sam Barlow.
Like, yeah, like, their parents are both... I guess it could have been, Simon's parents?
Yeah. No, it couldn't, because their names are Doug and Eleanor.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they could have changed it to D says.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 because, like, that's who Sara ended up with, whatever.
Right.
But, yeah, like...
Yeah,
it turns out it's just Sam Barlow saying it, and...
It's just Sam Barlow saying it, and that's the only part that, like, kind of, like, reeks of, like, the teeny tiniest bit of pretension, because, like I said, it's like him going, did you get my game, player? Do you understand? Because otherwise I think her story is completely fine, but the more and more I think about that, the more I'm like, Sam Barlow, you don't need to be that on the nose. But otherwise... It was fine. The ending is functional. It doesn't need to be anything bigger. Like, it doesn't need to be anything else. It is what it is, and it's fine.
I found out when I read, like, digging in a little bit, reading the Wikipedia, is that he did announce he's making a sequel to this, and I got worried, because it's like, no.
Yeah.
You can't, because we're done with this.
We're done with this.
But it's going to be more of a spiritual sequel, and it's going to star... completely different characters and a different incident, which is good because this formula is very exciting and
it's interesting.
I would like to see whatever changes he makes to the system
because it's supposed to have multiple characters instead of just the one. So I'm kind of interested to see how that goes. I'm
interested to see like what kind of tweaks he will make to the actual navigation style of pulling of evidence because you can't just use this system again.
No. It has to be something different. I don't know what. But...
Yeah, part of what makes this game so special and so notable is that it is the only one of its kind.
Right.
Where it's this formula only works in this one way, and you just have to find a way to change it without making it too different from what it's supposed to be.
Right. So we'll see. And maybe next time Sam Barlow won't self-insert himself at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, like, I don't have a lot else to say about her. There isn't really a lot to say.
We could dive more into the actual plot itself, but again, they do a really good job of preventing you from talking about the actual incident itself, because it's like, there aren't any there aren't a whole lot of extraneous questions or discussion points.
It's pretty straightforward.
She tells you why she did it and what happened, and it's fucked up. Holy shit!
Yeah, the whole story is kind of fucked up, but it doesn't really lend itself to a lot of discussion. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. It's like the most we can say is like, yeah, holy shit, that was fucked up. There were a lot of points where I had to like step back and be like, whoa,
that was weird.
That's intense.
But I dug it, and it's $6. And it takes an evening to finish. Go buy it and play it and experience it for yourself. It's
$6, and you can just rush through it, and it's like $1 an hour basically for this game.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's totally and it's completely worth it. And it can't be experienced on YouTube. It's one of those rare games that you could probably watch an LP of it, but it wouldn't really have the same feeling. So just go fucking play it. Just go fucking play Her Story. It's easy. So yeah. I
don't even think really talked about too much of... Well, I guess we kind of revealed a lot of the twist, but... whatever.
It's still worth it.
We revealed, like, one of the twists you find out in, like, hour 1. So,
so keep playing.
There's still a ton to learn.
So, yeah.
Well, I guess we revealed the ending. Never mind. We revealed
but even then...
the final...
Yeah. Oh, well. You should still play Her Story.
But whatever. Still, it was great. And I cannot wait to see what he does next with it. And I hope, again, it also is very short and only costs like $6.
Right, yeah. So, okay. Otherwise, I think that's kind of all I have. I really don't have anything else to say. So, yeah.
Fucking Night in the Woods and Her Story are really good.
You should go play them.
Doing Indie Week is really fun.
Yeah, because it opens up, different video games to be played, and I like that.
So do you want to say what we're doing next month?
Or do you want to... I think I just want to keep it a secret until we actually upload the podcast.
Okay. Yeah. So...
But it's probably pretty obvious what it is if you think about any major indie releases in the last, I don't know, week and a half. You might be able to figure out what we're going to play. But I won't say what.
So, thanks to Vistagerfuse for background music. Again, we have a Patreon. You can also find us on Twitter at The Gorge Podcast. You can email us at gmail at thegorgepodcast, or at thegorgepodcast.gmail.com. We are going to start posting our videos on YouTube as well, so once that's taken care of, that'll be up. Sarah, you would run another podcast. What's it like?
Hey, I'm in another podcast called Big Gay Nerds. It's an LGBT tabletop RPG podcast where me and a bunch of friends get together once a week and we play different tabletop games. In about 20 minutes, actually, I'm about to go back to Monster Hearts with everybody, which is a lot of fun. You should come check us out. We're at Patreon. We actually are on Patreon at Big Gay Nerds. We're on Tumblr at Big Gay Nerds. We're on SoundCloud at Big Gay Nerds. We're on Twitter at BGNcast. You should come check us out. We'd really appreciate it. It is a ton of fun. So yeah, thanks.
Cool. So, God, what do we ended on this one?
Fuck Night in the Woods rhythm games.
Fuck spontaneous rhythm games.
Yeah, that you can't practice for or be ready for, and have really, really hard to follow button layouts because everything's like really close together, so you can't differentiate between when your thumbs are, and you've kind of got a bad case of stupid fingers anyways, so you don't know what you're doing, and then the game makes fun of you for sucking so much, and I'm like, I'm going to fight everybody at Infinite Falls, or whatever the fuck they're called. So yeah, fuck Night in the Woods, shitty rhythm game.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.